First of all, welcome. How are you? It's good to see you. Thanks for coming out in the rain. How could you not go anywhere in the rain this week or last week? Or it doesn't exist. We get what I like to say about the weather this time of year in North Texas is we have rain with a chance of sun. And we get these patches of sun, and it's been warm enough to get in the pool a couple times recently until the lightning starts. And then you get right out of the pool. Next door to my house, we live in Grapevine, Texas. And next door to my house, actually 2 doors down, is one of the community parks. And in this park is a lightning detector system. And about every hour, it goes off and it sounds like a tornado siren. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Warning, lightning has been detected. Get out of the park. Seek cover now. We'll let you know when it's clear to go back. And people run away from the park, get in their cars and run past my house with their dogs and their kids and their strollers. And then about 10 minutes later or 20 minutes later, the whole thing starts over again. All clear, all clear. And I feel like for the past couple of years, we've been going through that in our country, in our economy. Like there's a new warning or disaster or something, some sort of alert happening to set me off almost every hour on the hour. And then, oh no, everything's fine for a few minutes. And then we're going to do it again. My wife's office is closest to the park. And so she gets to hear it on her conference calls. People on Zoom can hear the lightning detector warning, which is pretty fun. Anyway, I'm Craig Fisher. Sometimes I look like that. I like to put big pictures of myself on slides. That's what I do. And listen, I understand that we don't want to take pictures of each other in case some of us in the room actually have a job and don't want to be seen at a job search seminar. But if you want to take pictures of me and put them on social media, I'm great with that. That's cool. Go ahead. I am a professional job seeker. Okay, I am kind of a professional. So part of my what I do, I help employers understand their candidate experience. So has anyone experienced ghosting recently in their job search? Right. And part of that is due to this proliferation we have currently in technology and automation. Some even would say AI is to blame. I leak test candidate experience for employers. So I apply to jobs for a living and I experience what it feels like to go through the process. How long does it take? What is the communication back from the employer like? How long does it take before you actually speak to a person? Right? How does the messaging feel? What does the entire experience do to your enthusiasm about the organization? And so while a lot of these are hard measurables, some of them are also kind of soft and fuzzy statistics and KPIs that actually can and should be considered by employers. But the point is, I apply to jobs all the time. Every day I apply to jobs, and I send these employers a little report. Hey, I noticed this. If you ever want to talk about it, let me know. That's just me doing business development. And sometimes I will take 3 or 4 employers that I've looked at their experience and compare and contrast and put a little case study online. And then I tag all of those employers in my post on LinkedIn. And I might even do a video about it. And occasionally one of those employers will call me up and say, hey, we actually need some help with that. This is just inbound marketing, right? It's very straightforward. I'm sharing content. I'm being the SME of what I want to do for a living, right? And I'm going to share today with you all some of my strategy that's helped me to make money and stay employed in doing what I want to do over many, many years. Employment means different things to everybody these days, right? Do we understand that a regular job is not necessarily a regular job, right? There's gig work, there's contracts, there's projects. And so we're going to talk about how to get into that scenario where you're getting bits and pieces of work that can turn into big work, full-time work, big projects, things like that. And I think you'll appreciate my inbound strategy a little bit. We're also going to talk about automation and how do recruiters think and feel and act, and are they to blame for any of your woes currently or my concerns, which I'm going to be very frank. I like to make money. Bottom line, I don't do much for free. This I do for free, and none of you are going to pay me any money, and I wouldn't expect you to. I do this to give back because I am fortunate to be able to work in this great city, in this great area of North Texas, and to host conferences for my peers in recruiting on a regular basis since 2009. I did my first one of these events, Frisco Connect, I think in 2008 or 2009.
Yep.
And I've done these things with Foster off and on for many, many years, and with a lot of his peers and counterparts. And speaking of peers, it's my belief, and this is what I teach at my conferences for recruiters and employers and talent executives, it's my opinion that we're all colleagues here, right? We're all colleagues in this world of work. And it's very possible that we will work at the same company or have worked or done work for the same company before. And that just because you're not currently employed doesn't mean you're not my colleague anymore, right? So once my colleague, always my colleague. Once my neighbor, always my neighbor. If somebody was my neighbor and I moved away, well, I still refer to them as my neighbor or my old neighbor, right? But not a neighbor anymore because I moved away. So in my opinion, employers should treat all job candidates as their bench team, right? This is their next up to bat. This is their future workforce. And everyone deserves the empathy and respect that comes with being a teammate, being a colleague. If you apply to a job at a company and you take the time to fill out all those forms and make that one-way video and read the material that they provide, you've done some work for them. You've actually contributed to their process. And very likely, all of us in this room have worked for the same 25 organizations in some capacity or other in this North Texas area. I know all of the recruiters have either done contract work or direct recruiting for just about every employer. And it's fascinating when you try to explain to people about recruiting. When you do third-party recruiting, I came up as a third-party recruiter with Matrix Resources. And when you do third-party recruiting, you do some sort of staffing or executive search or placement for just about every employer in town. And so when I meet someone and I tell my wife, yeah, I used to do work for them, she's like, you never worked for them. What are you talking about? You didn't? Yeah, I did. I did work for them. In fact, I placed some of the people that created their current system. I used to place IT people for a long time. I'm not a recruiter anymore. I'm just a consultant now. But for 25 years, I recruited technologists and then various other roles and executives for literally just about everyone. So when the toll tag on your car stops working, I'm partly responsible for the system that enables that to break. So I wrote a book. Oh, this is my family in 1974. Yeah. So that's my dad from left to right, me, my sister, my mother, our cat, dog, and gerbil. And what should be a famous Olin Mills picture. This should be in a time capsule. It's inside my book on the first page. But the point of this is we all evolve, right? And we're striving to be the best version of ourselves on a regular basis. It doesn't matter how old you get or how young you're starting, right? Your goal is to be the next best version of you. And so you're constantly going to be showing the world, in my perspective, what you should be doing is constantly showing the world that you are the subject matter expert of that thing you want to do and be. You're the SME of you, right? Nobody knows what you can do better than you. And how's anyone else going to know if you don't actively share that with the rest of the world on a regular basis? I was pretty cool then. Look at that striped shirt. But I'm slightly better now, only slightly better. Okay, I'm big on empathy. Employers should have empathy for the candidate experience. Job seekers should have empathy for the employers that they're trying to get hired by. And the recruiters and hiring managers that are attempting to serve them in the capacity of employment. The applicant tracking system is not your enemy. The applicant tracking system doesn't know anything. It doesn't have an opinion. It's a stupid machine with bad software most of the time. Applicant tracking systems are terrible. And the AI and matching algorithms in applicant tracking systems are not great, but they're getting better. So I review tools. So there's two sides to my business, right? I work with employers on these really cool projects where I get to help them improve their process, select technology to make the experience for candidates better, and hire more efficiently. And then I host conferences a couple times a year, once in Dallas in the fall and Austin in the spring. And I invite those employers to get on stage with me and talk about the things we've done. And then I also invite what I would consider prospective employers, people maybe I haven't done work with, but that I am developing a relationship with or I'm friends with that have done cool things as well. And then I invite all of their friends to be in the audience and watch. And that's all funded by sponsorships. If you've been to one of my conferences, it's an inexpensive thing. There are some recruiting conferences where the ticket price is $1,400. What? $1,400? I don't do that. An early bird ticket to my conference is like $79. And the full price is maybe $125 ever. And so most of my conference is funded by the HR technology vendors, which gives me a unique perspective into how the technology works, how it affects what you're trying to do as a job seeker, and how the experience is also for the recruiters and hiring managers. And so I review new technology almost every day. I get a demo and get deep inside of these organizations that create this new HR technology and existing HR technology on almost a daily basis. And I'm reviewing some tools lately that are starting to extract contextual data from resumes and job seeker profiles. What does that mean, contextual data? So not just keywords, not just dumb ATS stuff that's matching you against 900 other resumes, which is a losing proposition, right? But now these tools are starting to take some contextual data. So there's one tool that I'll show you later that I really like that will actually look at a resume and allow a recruiter to type in a question like, I'm interested in people who have demonstrated leadership okay? The word leadership is a great keyword, but almost no one puts that in their resume. But saying that you've mentored someone or helped others learn or do or complete tasks, things like that, demonstrates leadership. And that's the type of contextual data one of these new AI tools is starting to look at and extract and show the employer things about you that you're not overtly saying. And so I'm going to encourage you to include some contextual data into your resumes. Tell stories a little bit. So under each job, right, you're going to list your duties and your accomplishments, right? And resume writers will expect and compel you to include some statistics, right, of things that you achieved. But I'm telling you to write a paragraph that's a story about what you did as well, because AI is going to start reading those stories and read stories into your resume and your profiles. Is that fascinating? It's going to be fascinating, I'm telling you. It's going to be fascinating. Okay, the first conversational chatbot was created by a professor in 1965 at one of our greatest technology schools in the world. And his name was Joseph Weizenbaum, and he's considered the father of AI or the grandfather of AI or something like that. And he created a chatbot that would converse with you as a therapist would. It was very simple. It would start out with, "Craig, how are you doing today?" And I would type back, "I'm okay." And the chatbot would write back, "Oh?" question mark, encouraging me to share why it's just okay. "Well, I woke up and my foot hurt and I can't walk very well." "Do tell," is the response from the chatbot. And on, right? Just as your therapist would, not really telling you what to do, just asking questions about what you've said. And he put an intern into a room with this computer console, as it was in 1965 at MIT, and came back 18 hours later, and the intern was still chatting with this computer, pouring her heart out about things she had never told anyone. We say AI can't do empathy, but it can mimic empathy very well, right? And so those conversations that you think you're having with a real person, or say you're craving with a real person, a live person, may not be quite as live as you think at some point soon. He thought this was dangerous and he shut the project down. That chatbot was called Eliza. You can look it up. There is a documentary about that whole situation called Plug and Play. I wrote an article about it in 2016 called Plug and Pray. You can look it up by Craig Fisher. And I delve into what we're going to see in the proliferation of AI in recruiting and employment. Now, granted, that was 8 years ago, and I'm still talking about it today. So I guess it's still relevant. I suppose it's still relevant. I wrote a book about it called Hiring Humans. And the book is about, yes, we have cool tools. Yes, we have automation. Yes, we should use these things to take non-recruiting tasks off of a recruiter's desk and help us to have better relationships. But we can't forget, while we're using technology, that we have to keep the human touch in human resources, right? Hiring is essentially a very human thing to do. And so the book is really about relationships while we're using technology judiciously. There's lots of cool tools in it. And there's a whole chapter about branding yourself for success. It's really good for job seekers. And it is the basis of this presentation and my next book, which will be called Paint Your Store. The Paint Your Store concept is about being the SME of you and showcasing that on places like LinkedIn and other social media. And we're getting to a place where LinkedIn is not going to be the only place for professional networking, right? Has anyone used Threads yet? Threads a little bit. Alignable, are you seeing that pop into your inboxes? There are things coming that are going to, as LinkedIn tries to be more like Facebook, other more professional platforms are going to start seeping into that LinkedIn space. You can find my book at hiring-humans.com or on Amazon or any place you buy books. I haven't created the audio book yet, and I'm going to be asking friends of mine and influencers in the industry to read chapters to put that together. And so if anyone has a recommendation, if you know Mark Cuban, for instance, hit me up. Okay, so I did an interesting thing when I published my book. This applies to you if you're in transition. I created a LinkedIn profile, right? A business page, a LinkedIn business page for my book, okay? Anyone can create a LinkedIn business page. Doesn't cost a thing, okay? Why would you want to do this? A couple of reasons. If you're in transition and you're telling people you're in transition, you are less likely to get a job than if you're currently employed. Does everyone agree with that? In general, right? And a lot of recruiters are starting to say, stop saying you're in transition. I don't necessarily agree with that. I'm constantly in transition, right? I'm constantly looking for my next gig, my next contract, my next project, but that's by choice. If I had a fantastic offer for a full-time job, would I take it? I don't know. I like what I do. Maybe I would, but the point is, if you create your own thing, right? So my thing is TalentNet Media. It's been going on since, in this iteration, 2011. My conferences started in 2009. Then I incorporated that whole concept into a consulting business for employers. And I created a LinkedIn business page for it, right? So that I can have that on my profile under my experience and have it look like a legitimate place of work because it has an icon, right? And you go to the page and it actually tells all about me and what my company does. Lots of keywords on that page. And LinkedIn business pages get outstanding search engine optimization. And so if someone goes to search for employer brand strategy, Dallas, Texas, they're very likely to find the TalentNet Media page from LinkedIn on their Google search results up at the top. So if you have a thing that you do, doesn't matter what it is, create a LinkedIn business profile for it, right? Name it something that can easily be kind of general in case you want to make a pivot. And write all about what you do. And then when you create a project about something that you're proud of and you want to tag people who might employ you to do that kind of work, you can post it on your company page and then repost it to your personal profile. And you never have a gap in your experience this way. You always leave your personal thing open. Okay? And if an employer has a problem with that, just say, hey, that's my side business. I do quilting on the side, macrame. Everyone has a gig. Everyone has a side project. And fewer employers have a real problem unless you're directly competing with them. And you don't have to ever close that page. Just put it on hold, right? Your LinkedIn profile is not a legally binding document of any kind. We all get that, right? In that vein, also, it doesn't matter what your job title is or what your previous job title was on LinkedIn. You can call yourself whatever you want, as long as you're not calling yourself CEO of Lennox Corporation, right? Unless you were. Is the CEO of Lennox Corporation former in the room? Okay, as long as you're not overly embellishing, it's okay. And the point of this is I added this business profile to my experience as my new job when I made it. And so my new job was best-selling author at Hiring Humans. And what happens when you add a new job on LinkedIn? LinkedIn tells everybody to congratulate you on your new job. Your entire network gets notified. So suppose your new job is in transition at craigfishercompany.com or whatever you're going to call your new business page, or I'm your next greatest hire at whatever your company's name is, or SME at XYZ skill, right? And you add that as your, right? It's going to be fairly obvious that you're either doing project work or you're in transition. If that's what you want to do, fine, that's great. But you can, for free, notify your entire network about it real easy. And then they have a page to go to basically see your resume. Make sense? Any projects that you do on the side, you can put there, and people can go see more about you. And it's really easy to point, because now job applications are saying, any other links you want us to know about you? Do you have a portfolio? A LinkedIn business page is a great place for that because it gets such good search engine optimization. Make sense? All right. Now, similarly, you can change your current job title to anything you want, right? If you're doing a temporary job, change your current job title to, I'm temporarily doing this until I go to work for Oracle. If you want to go to work for Oracle, I don't know who would, but if you do, and turn on notify my network when you update your job title, and what will happen? Your entire network will get notified to congratulate you on your new job title. Okay? If you're hiring, you could put that, I'm currently hiring for JavaScript developers in Dallas, Texas at XYZ company as your new job title. And everyone will get notified about the job you're hiring for. So it works both ways. All right. This is an old version of my LinkedIn profile. Okay, I just use this slide still because I have it. But you can see on it that my about section is really fully built out. Okay, and at the bottom of it is just a list of keywords. Search engines use a thing called proximity to find you. Okay? Your name near skills, near a company name, near locations. Okay? So that list of keywords at the bottom of my about section and at the bottom of each of my jobs is just a bunch of keywords with my name multiple times, locations where I might want to work, or where people might be searching for me, the skills that I have, right? And some of the companies that I've worked for. When recruiters go to search for you, they are still going to search for a location. Why? Because that's what we do, okay? Every search starts in a search box somewhere. And a search box will naturally try to serve you up local results first, right? There's a funny meme going around that says old Google versus new Google. And old Google, on the old Google side, it's the search for what you want. And the result is what you were looking for. The new Google is search for what you want. And the results are sponsored ad, sponsored ad, sponsored ad, image, 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 shopping, shopping, shopping. Not the thing you're looking for at all. It's hard to search now, but these rules still apply. Skills near your name, near a location. Okay? These are my three sons that Foster was alluding to. They are frustrating because they're teenagers. Well, one of them's 22 now, but they're still frustrating. And but they're good boys, and they're one of my examples of what I say everyone should have to share with the world that's something personal about themselves. I suggest you have 3 things about yourself that you can share with the world that make you more human, that let people get to know you a little bit, right? Instead of just being very buttoned down and name, rank, and serial number. In your about section on your LinkedIn profile, maybe on your resume, anywhere, have something slightly personal you can say about yourself, okay? Mine is I have 3 boys. I live by Grapevine, Texas, and Grapevine Lake. I like to travel. I hike and have dogs and photography and, things. To make it sort of more secure, I never called them by name until later in their life when they were old enough to need scholarships and things like that, and they wanted to be their names out there. So they were always numbers 1, 2, and 3 sons for forever online. I used them shamelessly for marketing purposes, but I kept them sort of private behind numbers 1, 2, and 3 sons. So you can share, even on places like LinkedIn, information about your loved ones, as long as if you want to keep them private, just give them a nickname. All right, this is part of a campaign. I was a talent leader at a place called CA Technologies for a while, and we created a campaign to attract talent. And the campaign was Bring What You Bring, and this was for recruiting technologists, and the theory was for every barrier, a breakthrough. But I think that it applies to just about every situation. I love the way this slide looks, and I love the message that it brings to the situation. And I think any employer should encourage inclusivity like this, right? It's what you bring, right, that makes you unique. And so if you don't have 3 things you can share with the world, if you're just about skills, and we're just going to talk about skills-based hiring, and nothing special about you, I suggest that you're going to have a harder time connecting with the employer. Yeah. Reinvention is all about what you know. And what you know is unique. Even if you've done the same job for years as the next person, you know something slightly different than they do because you've worked at different places. You've been in different situations. You have a different personal history. You have different interactions with the skills that you have. And again, these AI tools are starting to see and sort that sort of information. So contextually, they're going to say, well, these 2 candidates appear to have about the same amount of experience with a skill, but this candidate has this and this candidate has that. And so things that it would take a recruiter, a good recruiter can scan a resume and see certain things. They'll just pop out, right, like magic. But that skill is diminishing among the ranks of recruiters because we're hiring younger people, less experienced people to do that job. And we're relying too much on technology and becoming order takers in that function. And we just don't teach the same shadowing and technical training that we used to in big staffing for recruiters. So what we want to do is make sure as a job seeker that we are adding some of that contextual information to our resumes because the machines are going to start finding it. So in order to do that, you have to know yourself, right? Who are you? What do you do? What's unique about you? This is going to be very important. Stop scatter shooting and focus your job search and be the SME of you. All right, this is a little bit of an eye chart. I'll try to tell you what it says. Make a focus list, okay? The focus list starts with this. What have you recently been paid to do? And then the next list is things you've been paid to do that you like to do. And then the final list is things that you like to do that you're most likely to get paid to do. Make sense? So you've got these things that you've done recently and been paid to do. It might not be the thing that you like the best, But in there somewhere, there should be at least one thing that you also like to do, right? And so what are you most likely to get paid to do? Not something you did 25 years ago, right? It's something you've done more recently. And so you have to find some things that you like to do that you're most likely to get paid to do. And that's where you want to focus your job search. Because if you're just willing to do anything, you're not focused enough, and you're going to apply to all kinds of things, and you're going to end up with nothing. And you really do need to focus. So think about your job search like this. If you want to pivot, if you want to do something different, imagine yourself, and everybody do this with me real quick. Close your eyes real quick. Imagine yourself looking across a lake, okay? And where you want to be is on the other side of the lake. You can't get there quickly. You don't have a boat. You can't swim. It's too far. You can't walk. It's too deep. And so you have to go around the lake in order to get there. Can you see it? So how do you do that? You can open your eyes. Think about adjacent situations to your recent employers. Who are the companies that would benefit from your knowledge, from your recent things you've been paid to do? Okay? Competitors, vendors to your former companies, customers of your former companies. These are companies that would valuably appreciate your knowledge of what you've done before. Okay? They're adjacent to what you've recently done. And in finding those companies, you can start to go like this around to your future goal. So choose 5, okay? Make a list. Choose 5. Start connecting with the people in those 5 organizations that might hire you to do some of the work that you'd like to do, that you're likely to get paid to do. Do some research about these organizations and write about it. Compare and contrast the 5 that you've chosen, even if they're radically different. Explain in your theory or your thesis that I'm doing research on these companies because I would like to work for them. Here's how they all approach the thing that I would like to do for work. Write a research paper about it or a case study from your research. Compare and contrast their best practices. And then publish your research on LinkedIn, right? To your own profile and to your new company page. Even create a video about it, if you want to, talking about what you've done, and then tag all the people that you've been connecting with at those companies to say, hey, look what I did. I would love to do this for you. That's being the SME of you. That's something that no one else is doing specifically for those 5 companies. It would be rare if they did to have that coincidence. But can you see how this might be a different approach to finding your next role than just applying to jobs randomly? Right? You can do this over and over and over again and keep publishing it as work for your current company, right? This LinkedIn business page that you've made, you're doing these cool projects, you're publishing them on a regular basis, and you're talking about it using your expertise and showcasing yourself as an SME in that kind of work. Okay? Maybe it involves a spreadsheet, maybe it involves coding, maybe it involves whatever, okay? But publish, write about it, showcase, tag the people who might hire you to do that kind of work on a regular basis. And then when you go to connect with the next person and they check out your profile and see all this cool stuff you've been doing, you are all of a sudden a more valuable connection than any other job seeker, certainly than all the salespeople that are trying to connect with these folks, right? You have to be a good network contributor on a regular basis in order to grow your network, in order for your network to find you valuable. And so when you're writing this stuff, showcase what's in it for the reader. How can you use this information? How could the employer use this information to find some value and get work done better. All right, so how do you do this research? How do you understand who your target audience is? This is an empathy map, okay? Envision the person that you're going to work for. In fact, you've already tried to connect with them. Okay? You've already done your research on these companies and you've found the people who are in a hiring position that you want to connect with. So who are they? Create personas for them. They are a 42-year-old female, Latina, with a STEM degree from Baylor. Okay? What is her life like? Does she have kids in high school? Does she play soccer? Does she coach soccer? Ask someone who does a similar job. Do some real research and figure out what their life is like. What would they most likely see the first thing in the morning when they wake up? Do they listen to sports radio? Are they a ticket fan? Did they used to listen to Kid Craddock? I did. In doing this, you can more closely tailor the messaging and the research that you're doing to be valuable to them, to understand who you're talking to. And then you can create a persona. This is what we do in employer branding or employee branding. We create a persona. We do this in marketing as well for customers. The persona informs us about who we're trying to recruit as employers or as brand managers. I've created a blank persona template, and I have a blank empathy map template as well. And if you want those, just send me a message on LinkedIn and I'll send them to you. Everybody get a picture of this if they want it? And this one? This is good. There's an interesting story to this. A few years ago, IBM asked a few people who were influential in their world of work space to come to New York to see a new product they were unveiling and to hack the future of work in these think tanks. And so they had us do some design thinking sessions, and one of the experiments was this empathy map. And you can draw this on a whiteboard, and you give your team, whoever it is, brand managers or salespeople or recruiters, multicolored sticky notes and Sharpies, and have them write things and fill in the quadrants. It's a really fun exercise. I immediately thought, because we were doing this for customer profiles at this IBM thing, I immediately thought, wow, this would be great for recruiting. And so I introduced this concept to the world of talent acquisition way back in 2014 or 2015. And it's been widely adopted since. Now, I don't know if I invented that idea or not. I mean, IBM gave it to me, but it turned out that IBM was just unveiling this new Lotus Notes mail product that they wanted everyone to talk about online. And it was terrible, and nobody liked it. I've never even heard of it again since this whole thing. Okay, so when you're posting content online to draw attention to yourself, it's important to give more than you ask. I use the 80-20 principle. I call it the 5-to-1 give to ask ratio. Okay? Give something interesting or valuable, humorous, entertaining, whatever, 5 times for every 1 time you ask for referrals or anything else. Okay? This makes you a good network citizen. This makes you a good steward of your community. If you're just constantly asking for things, people will tune you out. If you're constantly complaining, people will tune you out. That's not valuable. Okay? So 5 gives to every 1 ask. All right. There are some tools that will help you curate interesting subjects. I use a tool called Crowdfire. It's a mobile app. There are several like it. If you go to the App Store, you'll find a dozen apps similar to Crowdfire. Crowdfire, you can enter the topic areas for stories that you'd like to share. And it will send you notifications about news items on a regular basis and allow you to connect your social networks and easily share those stories to basically any social network. And so I don't do this as much as I used to because my network has grown and I have a lot of content to share already. But if you're really kind of just starting out and you're wondering, man, I can't do research all the time and publish it, what am I going to share that's valuable? This is a really helpful tool to just help you see. And I still use this tool just to see what the news is around my industry, which I find very valuable. Okay, video. How many of you are creating and posting videos to your LinkedIn profiles on a regular basis? Not enough. All right. This is important. So Trevor will tell you that we're big fans of video. And video creates 20 times more shares on LinkedIn than any other type of content. 20 times more. So if you just create a post that's just words, you get a little bit of engagement. If you create a post with a photo and words, you get a little more engagement. If you create a post with words and a video, you get 20x. Why is this important? Have you all completed a job application recently that asked you to create a video as part of the process? Yes or no? Speak up. This is the interactive part. No? Has anyone? Yes. All right. Employers are looking for this. One-way video is very valuable to employers, but it's a little impersonal to the job candidate. Okay? But you can create your own one-way videos on a regular basis every week and post it to LinkedIn and just talk about the projects that you're researching. You can even document your job search journey, right? As a piece of work. I'm doing this research, I'm documenting things this way, I'm using this kind of spreadsheet to track things, I'm using these tools to curate content, and make a video about that. When people see you, there's a tool called Connect that I recently checked out, CNECT, getconnect.com is the website. And its premise is that we will eliminate first-round interviews by allowing job seekers to create a profile and then create this introductory first impression video. And I've seen hiring managers do this. Look at the profile and say the profile's not really a match, but watch the video and within 4 seconds say, yeah, that's a person I want to interview. Because if you can come across well on a video, you will also come across well in an interview or a project management meeting or whatever might be happening on your job. Okay? The cool thing about making your own video and posting it to LinkedIn is you can take as much time with it as you want. Let me tell you this, perfection is not the goal. Actually getting something published is the goal. But take a little bit of time and make it as good as you can. Not a week, but a day maybe, okay? And when you get a little better at it, record 3 or 4 in a row about different subjects. Whatever it is you're doing research on, whatever job search you're on, whatever topic you're interested in and talking about. And then post one every week or one every few days to your LinkedIn profile and get ChatGPT to write a little blurb about it based on the transcript. And then make sure you edit that because ChatGPT writes some crazy stuff sometimes. Okay? But employers who see this and see you doing well in a video are much more likely to want to interview you than if I go to your profile and there's nothing. Make sense? if I see you and you are sharp and you are capable of doing what amounts to an interview well, there's some value to that. 54% of executives share work-related videos with colleagues. This was in Forbes a couple of years ago. What does that mean? So, yes, I do share articles with colleagues, but I'm more likely to share a video with colleagues because it's shorter, it's concise, it's summarized. Does that make sense? 80% of video content is viewed with the sound off. Okay, that means if you can, you should add captions to your video. What's great about LinkedIn video is that it automatically adds captions for you now. If you're posting native to LinkedIn, what that means is you've recorded video on your phone or on your laptop, and you're going to post it directly to LinkedIn, not on YouTube first. LinkedIn will create captions for you if you want it to. Okay? That's good because people just scroll without the sound on a regular basis. And if you do it in mobile view versus widescreen view, it looks better on their mobile phone. There's a case to be made for all different kinds of video, but these are the statistics. All right, a few tools to check out. Teal. This is a job seeker assistant. This automates all kinds of cool stuff. It will help you fix up your resume, and it will help you track where you've applied and follow up. It's a really good tool. There's a free version, there's a paid version, like everything else. But TEAL, highly recommend. What I don't recommend is keyword stacking your resume against a specific job in a way that is not authentic. Okay? Because I'm just going to be honest, it ain't going to work out. Okay, Teal, check that out. Connect, this is the one I talked about before, where you can create a profile and a first impression video. It's getconnect.com. Spotify. I use this as an example of a great tool to use because there are over 5,000 podcasts about careers. So it's a great place to do some research. When you're getting that mental health time, walking around the neighborhood, when it's sunny, right? The few minutes a day that we get sun. This is the conclusion slide. You're all going to get a copy of these slides, I think. Probably they'll be attached on the, under the YouTube video, is my guess. And if not, just send me a note and I'll send them to you. But bottom line is, right, don't automate everything yourself, especially if we're expecting employers not to do that. It works both ways. Be human. Okay, and that's it. That's how you get a hold of me. Now you can ask me questions. Thank you very much. Appreciate you. Great audience. Yes.
Can you wait for the mic, please?
They're bringing a mic.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you for your presentation. Just to verify, you said the best way to make videos if we wanted to post them on LinkedIn right away were to use our camera, not our laptop?
You could do both. I mean, if you've got a decent video program on your laptop, even just the Microsoft one, it's fine.
Okay.
It doesn't matter. The bottom line is do it in a way and a place that you are comfortable enough to do a couple of takes and make sure that you're good and engaging and relating something that's going to be valuable to the listener.
Okay. And how do you feel about the age issue with videos?
I mean, most video programs now have a really nice tool that kind of enhances your appearance.
Hello, Craig.
I think age is an advantage, if you ask me.
Hello, Craig.
Hello, Craig.
Question for you is, if somebody has sent a huge number of resumes out but is not getting any interviews,
Went back and changed the resume, went to a resume writer, had the resume writer redo the resume, paid somebody to make sure it's ATS compliant so it wasn't getting kicked out, still not getting interviews. What is your best advice?
Yeah, forget your resume and forget applying to jobs, right? Connect with the people that you want to do work with and write some interesting research about those companies and put it on LinkedIn and tag those people who you have connected with, right? Show off what you can do because you're not getting through the screening process for whatever reason. And you're not going to change that by changing your resume a million different ways. So it is what it is. Possibly recruiters and or machines are going out to look at your online profiles and there's not enough interesting information or you haven't posted enough credible content to showcase yourself as an SME. So you're going to kill two birds with one stone by doing that. Command Vince.
Yes, Craig, how are you doing? Vincent Battles. So here's the question, scenario. You've got a job, you're a job seeker, and you have applied to a role. The role has, it appears that you're in the sequence based on the applicant tracking system. But you also, during that process, find out that you now know the hiring manager for the job you're interested in. What are your thoughts? What's your advice to contact the hiring manager directly or still stick with the process of staying with the recruiter, who's many times the gatekeeper?
So there are two ways. You can certainly send the hiring manager a note on LinkedIn, or if you have their phone number or email address, you can send them a text message or an email and just say, hey, heads up, haven't seen you in a while, good to connect. I applied for a job here. I don't know if you have any say-so about it, but just wanted to let you know that I've applied. Right? That's the least forward and pushy way to do anything about it. A cheekier way to do it would be to record a video as if you're interviewing for that job and just say, hey, this is Craig. I just applied to this job. Here's where I found it. I'm talking directly to you, the hiring manager. I hope that you see my resume. If you don't, maybe you'll at least see this video and then tag them in your post on LinkedIn. And listen, it may work, it might not, but if you've gone through this process and had poor results, shake it up a little bit. Try something a little bolder. See what happens. If anyone has success doing this, I've had a lot of people call me eventually and say, hey, that actually worked. Please let me know. I document this stuff. Good question. Vincent. Yes, my colleague. Vincent and I worked together for many years.
Is it me?
Which one? You're going to go that Dorothy first? Go ahead, Dorothy.
What do you do when they send you a link and says your resume match up with this specific job, and you send your resume and the feedback is you've got too much experience?
Yeah. So if you've ever done, Indeed has a resume assistance service. And Indeed will tell you that anything past 10 or 15 years, just list it and don't put the dates on it. Okay? So anything going back past, and this is your choice, try it both ways, past the dates of 10 or 15 years, you can list the experience with a brief description, just don't put the dates on it. You've got too much experience with just 5 years experience? Well, then I would shorten the descriptions of what you've done. Well, are you applying to entry-level roles?
No, I'm
So
not.
Is this
not
happening over and over again? Everyone says
over
yes.
and over and over
Everyone
again.
says yes.
I've sat with Pete with my resume, and I told him that I've cut down, and he saw my resume and he helped me with it, and I sent in the one that he helped me with, and they still say to me, too much experience.
Are your Job titles, high level?
Leadership coaching.
Leadership coaching.
Yeah.
Too much experience in leadership coaching.
Yes. It is maybe because it's so broad. I've done it not just here in America, but also in other countries. So
I'm afraid that I'm not equipped to tell you what you're doing wrong right now because I don't have enough information. But
okay.
you should talk to one of the there's several resume writers that will look at your specific situation sort of line by line and tell you what's going on. Trish Wyderka would be a good one that I'll refer you to. And she's really good at that sort of forensic examination of what your process is.
Okay. I thought maybe it's because I'm blonde.
I'm on video. I can't say anything about that.
Hello. Oh, hello.
Hello.
My name is Timothy. And what are the considerations for people in the room who are considering public sector employment? Because I've interviewed with the city of Fort Worth and the city of Dallas, and their interview process is very regulated and strict.
Yep.
Like, they don't even respond to thank you emails. They don't respond to any personal messages. And I would feel uncomfortable, like, going through the traditional networking approaches or sending connection requests to people that I can look up on LinkedIn, or I don't even know what you can do because, like, if they allegedly have a very rigid process. I don't want to get people in trouble. I don't want to get in trouble if I somehow was a selected candidate, but then they thought there was some sort of like personal bias. So like, what should people do if they want to work for like the city, the county, or the state?
Yeah. So if you want to get connected into the public sector field, right, in any city, state, or municipality, or nationally, you have to participate in the groups where they do actually have activity. And there are some, okay? There are groups on Facebook and LinkedIn for public sector jobs, public sector networking, and public sector just discussions. You have to be a good participant and showcase yourself as being knowledgeable and being interested. And it's just like, so at my conferences, the TalentNet Live conferences, people who are good audience members and ask good questions and participate and are very interactive, I ask them to come be on stage on the next event, right? And be on a panel. You seem to have something to say. You're interested. You care. And it's very much like at the end of a job interview, if you don't tell the interviewer, hey, I'm very interested in this job. I hope we can move forward. And I'm not just saying that. I'm really interested in this job and working for you, right? Very often, regardless of what we say about bias, at the end of an interview, the interviewer chooses the person that seems to have the most enthusiasm for the job, all other things being equal. Okay? And so find a way to get into a network of people. I mean, listen, recruiters do crazy things to recruit candidates for jobs. And that includes going to restaurants where technologists go to lunch. Remember the days, Vincent, when we used to just go hang out in Telecom Corridor and wait for those? We would. And in the early days of social networking, I would actually use the Foursquare app, and I would find people who check into the Starbucks across the street from AT&T headquarters. And I was recruiting for Verizon at the time. So I'd go sit at the Starbucks. And post a suggestion at Starbucks. Hey, try the latte. Also, I'm sitting in the corner all day today recruiting for Verizon. And so people who would check in there would see this suggestion from me who's been there every day, and I'm like the mayor now. And they would come find me, and I interviewed and hired dozens of people this way. So don't just take what's offered to you online through traditional mechanics of the job application as the only way to connect with people. Does that make sense? I hope so. Think outside the box.
Hi, I'm Deborah.
Hello.
My question I have is for being ghosted.
Yeah.
So what do? You don't want to become a stalker and stalk them after they decided not to move
Yeah.
forward with you, but what are things to do, not only with recruiters or just being ghosted, period?
So,
Thank you.
first of all, why would you want to work for somebody that acts like a ghost? That's scary. You need an exorcist. You don't want to deal with organizations that are going to ignore you, because what kind of job is that going to be? So, right, find the ones that will engage with you and aren't ghosting and have a better process. There is a big push for employers to have a more personal candidate experience, right? I'm part of that movement. And the employers that set a good expectation and even turn that into a good onboarding experience are the ones that are going to win in the end. If you can find those, I know you're all applying to dozens or hundreds of jobs. If you can find those ones that have a good experience and keep showing up. And I'll tell you another real quick story. I implemented a situation when I was at CA Technologies to have a coordinator, a recruiting coordinator in India, contact everyone that applied to a job that went into the no pile. Send them a personal note directly saying, hey, this is not the right job for you. This isn't going to work out this time on our end, but we appreciate you and we hope that you'll join our talent community because we'd like to keep up with you because there might be different jobs that you're a fit for. And a guy reached out to me locally here in Dallas on LinkedIn shortly after I implemented this process and said, I just got rejected by CA Technologies by a person. I said, okay. He said, I've been applying to your company for 3 years and never heard from anyone. This was the greatest rejection experience I've ever had. And I said, that's fascinating. Are you local? He said, yeah. I said, would you come to my office and talk to me about this? Because I'm trying to gather some data about if this is helping. And he did. And it turned out he'd just been applying to the wrong area of the organization the entire time. And we did have a job that fit him. And we did hire him. So try to find those organizations that do seem to have a good process. And don't be a stalker, but keep trying. Because it might just be the wrong situation at the wrong time.
I got, actually, Greg, he was here. You're next.
Thank you for the presentation. My name is Isaac. So you applied for a job, and a lot of people are like, oh, you should reach out and follow up with a hiring manager. Well, if you can't find the contact for the hiring manager, what is the approach then? And what is your opinion on the benefits of following up?
Yeah. So the hiring manager is not always the right person to follow up with. Okay. First of all, the hiring manager may never even see your resume. Okay. That the recruiting team is tasked with giving the hiring manager a slate. Okay. And that slate is going to be determined either by human eye visualizing what the resume says versus the job, or technology, or a combination of both. And the hiring manager may never see your resume, so that might not be the person to follow up with. On LinkedIn, very often, it will show you who posted the job. That recruiter who posted the job is a good person to follow up with. Because if you show enthusiasm and not just sort of generic follow up, but hey, I'm really interested in this. Here's why. Here's the research I've done. Here's why I'm a good fit. Sorry to bother you. Hope this isn't overwhelming. But if you really care at all, I even made a short video about it and linked to it. Right? For whatever reason, if that recruiter pays any attention, that might put you in their mind as a better candidate than the next person. Or it might just get you in the top 25 slot, whereas just on paper, you're not. So I would look for those situations where LinkedIn is listing who posted that job. let's get you a microphone.
Actually,
Okay.
so I got a question and kind of I'd like to get your opinion on something.
Okay.
So number one, how could you go about finding these companies that you're talking about with this experience? And then secondly, I've been hearing a lot of statistics lately about companies posting ghost jobs online and that people are applying to these like crazy, not ever hearing anything back. Can you speak a little bit to that and one of the reasons why it's more important to network than it is to be on LinkedIn?
Yeah. So there's an app called Blind. Blind is sort of it's a younger generation app, let's say, okay? And people on there post all kinds of things about the packages they're offered, what they're paid, the amount of stock they're offered, the experience of interviewing with a company or applying to a company. And there are tons of threads on Reddit as well that will talk about good and bad experiences. So Reddit, subreddit recruiting hell is fantastic, right? And so you can see all the companies that you don't want to work for. But occasionally, you can actually do a search for love or great or things like that in some of these groups and find positive sentiment. Glassdoor is also a good place to find positive sentiment about organizations, right? I mean, it's standard research. And then the second part of your question was about everybody applies and ghosts, but you really want to work for this organization.
No, I was talking more about companies that are putting ghost jobs on LinkedIn that aren't really jobs.
So this happens. It's not supposed to happen, right? Indeed has mechanisms to fight this, but they can't keep up with the amount, the volume where it's happening. And if companies are doing that, if they're talent pooling, there's a few reasons for this. Occasionally, it's because they don't have the budget to post a job for one of, let's say, 50 openings across the country. And so they may use one job to recruit for multiple opportunities. And it's just a catch-all. So that's one of the reasons this happens. Another reason this happens is they're testing the market and they want to see what's possible. And they're not spending the money or the time on the technology and the research that you can do, with publicly available data to figure out what supply and demand is for that skill set. And I would just be aware of those companies. Sorry? Okay.
I got a mic and a question over here. So, okay. Oh, this is good. I got to stand up and tell you guys this one. So, Craig, and I've been part of this before. There are some companies that, as we say, you and I are familiar with the RPO process, recruitment process outsourcing. So there are some, it can be a larger company. It doesn't have to be a larger company, but usually is, that will outsource recruiting. I've got a position that's hard to find, and I want to get all the companies that work with me to help me find this person that I'm looking for. And usually it's a purple squirrel. It doesn't necessarily have to be all the time. But all of a sudden we get a phone call from 4 or 5 different companies talking about this job. Which one of the, I'm a relationship person, but which one of these companies should we go with, Craig?
Yeah. So you're going to get a vibe from the experience and the timing of the messaging when you interact with any of these groups that's trying to be the hot hand to get you in front of that organization quickly, okay? You can ask them directly, how many other agencies have this job right now? What's your relationship with the employer? Right? And I would just be very direct about it. And if they are not really as directly involved as some others might be, because there's going to be a prime vendor in most of these situations. There's going to be a direct RPO,
yes.
And there's going to be some agencies just trying to maybe got wind of this job and they're trying to get resumes in front of the manager. The ones that have the most direct relationship are the ones you should check out. So go to their websites and see how many other jobs that fit that mold of that company they have posted, right? And if it's, if they've got multiple jobs for that organization, they're probably the RPO or the direct agency. And direct staffing is a big deal. I mean, it's almost the same as RPO. I've worked for a big RPO, and I'll tell you, they're not bad. You can't just say, they're all evil or anything like that. I've gotten executive level jobs through an RPO and then become a member, an employee of the RPO as well at an executive level. And so there are certain situations where that's a great connection to have. I had one guy interview me from an RPO for years to work directly for their organization, and it didn't work out for whatever reason. And then he ends up going to another organization that was a PE-backed healthcare company and reached out to me and he said, hey man, we had some great conversations. You'd be a good fit for this job over here at this PE, and it turned into a year-long contract for me. So don't neglect those relationships, right? Make good relationships with recruiters when they reach out, and don't treat them like they are, just third-party nonsense. Sometimes they're very valuable people to know.
Got a question?
He's got a question here. Sorry. Yes. Cover letters are read both by AI and human eyes.
Okay.
Cover letters are a great place to put some of that contextual information that I suggested before. So in a cover letter, you want to be professional, but also tell a story or two.
Hello, my name is Tim. I'm in IT.
Hi, Tim in IT.
I've encountered a couple different situations, so this is the multi-part question. Dice.com, ZipRecruiter.
Yeah.
A lot of these postings are old,
Yeah.
recycled, year old. I mean, it gets pretty negative when you start to see that. Also, what kind of commentary can you give on, I'll say, scams, let's say recruiting firms out of India or whatnot?
Yeah. Okay.
It's
So it's rampant. But to the first question, jobs that appear old on Dice and ZipRecruiter and Indeed may not be old. So what employers do badly is they reuse the same template in their applicant tracking system to repost a job that maybe they've hired for before. And they don't take the time to actually create a net new job. So they're basically just copying the exact information from the template and putting it into a new job post, but that might carry over old JSON metadata from a 2 or 3 year old template into the job post. And so on Dice and Indeed and places like that, it appears old. Okay, so even though it's posted as a net new job, it's not showing up in the system, because what's the first thing you can filter on any job board? Show me recent, right? And if those jobs go away, it might not be because they're not new. It might just be because the employer has a bad process. Make sense?
Or they're lazy.
Or they're, well, a lot of times they don't know better.
Yeah, a lot of times, yeah.
I mean, so I saved a huge retail chain somewhere around $350,000 in advertising dollars in a year because I helped their job postings come up in search results by fixing that old template problem. Their HRIS team said, we're not going to fix all those. That would take months. And I said, well, this is costing you $350,000 a year. And they said, all right, we'll fix it.
Hello, aerospace.
Yeah, this was Ross Dress for Less, actually. I was doing a project for Accenture. They just didn't know that they were doing it badly. Now, and to the question of scams, Okay, there's lots of information online right now about the verbiage that these scams are using. And you can't really discern by saying, oh, this had to have come from ChatGPT, because everyone is now using AI to create their messages. So look in, Reddit is a good place, but just do a Google search for scam verbiage from fake staffing companies. And you'll start to see posts and warnings about these things. And just if you feel like that there may be something to it, just reply to them and start asking some questions. And if they don't have good answers or they're not timely in doing it, move on. Don't send them any information. Make sense? Yeah.
Hang on.
Yep.
And these recruiters say, just send me your resume outside of Dice.
Yep.
Why is that, and is that problematic?
It's not necessarily problematic. The problem with a lot of recruiters on Dice is their system only takes a parsed resume from that machine, from Dice. And it's not formatted well, and it doesn't necessarily contextually look as good as what they're trying to see. They might want to see how you put your resume together originally. And so sometimes that's okay. But again, I would ask them questions first, some qualifying questions before you send them anything, and remove any personal information other than your name if they're already communicating with you, right? So anything that would expose you to any sort of security risk. But definitely talk to them first and see how they respond.
Hi, my name is Vanessa Hall Grisham. Thank you for your time today. It's been very helpful what all you've shared with us. Earlier in your presentation, you made a comment about having like a job synopsis on our resume. Could you provide us any guidance on what we should or maybe should not include on that?
Yeah, so that Teal tool that I alluded to earlier will do a really good job of sort of walking you step by step through each job. But here's what resume experts say, and then I'm going to add what I say, because I don't consider myself a resume expert only because I don't take money for giving that kind of advice, but I'm pretty good at it. So resume experts say that you want to list what you did, list the outcomes, and tie it to some numbers. Okay? So here's what I did. Here were the outcomes. Here are some statistics about what I did. And then I say, then add a paragraph with a story about what you did. Okay? That adds some contextual data. And then in my situation, at the bottom of that job, I may just have another short paragraph that basically has some keywords. Craig Fisher, expert at employer branding, recruitment marketing, recruitment process, etc., Dallas, Texas. Because it may sound like nonsense when I say it, but a smart reviewer of a resume will understand exactly what I'm doing and say, you know what, that's pretty sharp. All right, follow up.
How do you feel about one-page resumes?
I don't care how long your resume is. No recruiter cares how long your resume is. Any recruiters in the room? Do you care about a one-page resume? Right. Doesn't matter, because the way we receive a resume is digitally. So the number of pages doesn't. If you've got a 20-page resume, we're not going to read it.
Yeah.
Right? We're barely going to read 2 pages. But it really doesn't matter how long your resume is, as long as it just doesn't, it's not a run-on. 1 page is nice, but it's not enough information most of the time.
Mr. Tim.
It's me again. Given the nature of your business, and this also goes to maybe human resource information system professionals are here, I was just wondering if the vendors who have very popular products that require you to create an account, every time you apply, and then the parsing, maybe because of the user's resume, is broken, so you have to re-enter the information or correct it. If they're listening, for example, I'm not throwing any shade at them, but like Workday is very infamous on LinkedIn and from a lot of people's personal experiences.
Yeah.
Like, I would just want to know some insight into like how you work that to get conversions if you wind up having to apply maybe after networking or online, and why companies choose those solutions where you have to create an account for a one-time interaction.
Yeah, it's a bad experience. It's why I have a job. I mean, I create efficiencies for recruiting teams to avoid that login screen because in marketing terms, that prohibits conversions, right? And we're paying every time somebody clicks on a job ad. Every time somebody clicks on my ad, I have to pay for that. It's called pay per click. And that is true in jobs as in any other marketing. And so if we're paying for somebody to click, but then we're sending them to a paywall or a login screen where they're very likely to fall off and not convert, that's a waste of money. And so there should be a landing page or a chatbot or something in there that can get you past that and create a candidate home in that system of record and get you started in the process. Because if you have progress, you'll keep going. But if you just hit that screen, you're very likely to fall off. And a lot of times we're applying to jobs on our phones in bed at night because a notification has shown up or we're checking our emails, right? And so it's very difficult to do that whole login process from your phone in bed and remember what the hell you're doing later. And so it's just a bad process. But to answer the other part of your question, Workday does not have a universe of candidates. So there's no shared universe within Workday. And even in different departments of an organization, you might have different instances of Workday. And so that's why you might have to keep logging in. But also, Workday is just not a good experience in general. It's bad. If Workday's here, your recruiting software sucks.
It does.
Your HR software is pretty good. Okay.
Hello. First of all, thank you for this presentation. It's given me a lot of insight into what I've been probably doing wrong most of this entire time. I had a question that's kind of built on two quick premises and questions related. First, a project I was doing in school when we were in college my last year, we were in a team and it was shown out. Should I have put that, when we're doing this work for getting a job, should I be making that into a video for it, or should I make that maybe into a job page where all of my teammates can also use? Because you mentioned both those options. Which would you prefer?
Yes and yes. I mean, I love that idea. If you create a job page about it and multiple teammates can use it on their LinkedIn profile as experience, then when people go to that job page, it'll say 6 people work here. Right? That's great. That's fantastic. I would absolutely do that. And then I would also create a video about it and put it right on that job page.
And then the second part to that is, because it was through the school's institution, what would you recommend for me to do with that? Should I contact the school and then see if they will give permission first, or go just on my own?
No, not at all. First of all, they don't care. And second of all, unless it's some sort of top secret priority information, then no. You want to talk about, I can stand here today and tell you about every project I did in college. It would be boring, but no one is keeping me from doing that. I did do a project one time that created the name for something called Rainier beer that actually turned into an actual product. That was interesting, see? But nobody's stopping me.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Correct.
Listen.
Okay, yes. Get my voice going. Quick question. In terms of your experience, your advice, when you see a job, particularly on LinkedIn, you can also see how many applications, so 60, 100, or whatever it can be. What is your recommendation? Should I apply when I see 100 people who've already applied, or should just,
Yes.
write it off?
Yes, no, apply. And here's the reason why. because of timing. So what happens when you apply, or what happens when a job shows up and LinkedIn sends you a notification, hey, look at these jobs that you're a fit for. You're only going to scan them and see the couple or three that you might want, or the last few, right? And the same thing happens to recruiters. Hey, you've got new applicants. Well, you might just be good timing, right? If you apply out of 100 people, they might just see the last 5 in their notification. That might include you. So absolutely apply.
Thank you. Coming over here.
Hi, my name's Tyler. I work in marketing, and my question.
Tyler.
Thank you. My question was more so into the interview process, if you can answer it. This is an experience that I have recently when I was in the interview process, and the hiring manager informed me that I would need to sign a non-compete if I were to be signed on with the company. And recently with the new FTC ruling that will take place in September, which bans non-competes in a sense, should I be taking the job or?
No.
Okay. Just straight up no?
No. Don't work for a company that makes you sign a non-compete. And here's why. A non-disclosure, NDA, is fine, okay? I sign NDAs every day, and I have a bunch of partners that work with me that sign NDAs. That just means we won't share each other's confidential information. A non-compete means you can't work in that field for a certain number of months after you leave that company, and they're not going to pay you for that. So just know it's bad business practice. And it's not enforceable, but they might still sue you. And I don't like that at all. Suing, even though I have successfully done it. When some big companies tried to not pay me. It's just not a good idea.
You sure?
All right. We done? We good?
Chad went back there, Jason.
Okay, we got one more. We got a couple. Yeah.
Should I try to go to certain companies' real website and apply there?
It doesn't matter. If they're paying money to have that job posted on LinkedIn, then they're paying attention to those results. And you don't get an easy apply with a free job posting. So they're paying for that. However, if you're an employer, anyone can post a job on LinkedIn for free anytime. You don't have to pay for the silver package of LinkedIn job postings, just FYI. But if they do have that easy apply, that means they're paying for it, which means they care about the results. So it doesn't really matter. Your experience might be better actually with the easy apply on LinkedIn than it is going to their website. Also, easy apply is not always easy. Sometimes it's pages.
Yeah.
Hi, hello. My name is Naomi. Thank you for your presentation. As a recruiter, what is your opinion and insights on people who has more general profile? Because nowadays the trend is to be really specialized and have something very specific about you. But somebody like me who's been traveling around the world and has an overview of a big corporate and work in different industries and many different departments, what's in store for them, really, especially with AI and so on?
Yeah. So my suggestion is going to go back to making your list about what you've been paid to do that you like to do, right? And then
what if you like everything and you're good at everything?
If you like everything, you are a better person than me, because I certainly do not like everything. Listen. The question you have to ask yourself is, when you're at a social gathering or you first meet someone and they say, what do you do? What do you tell them? Right? That's it. That's the bottom line. That's who you are and what you do.